Hey guys, Don Miller here. I want to show you what I've gotten done so far, what I've done. This is the frame I'm working with. I've tapped my frame and I put a screw in right there. You see that little screw? I can't zoom in because this camera won't do it. Get a little closer though. Maybe I'll help. Okay, that didn't do much. Little screw right there. I tapped it on top of the fuel tank and stuck the screw in. Alright? This is my Igarashi motor right here. Let me put you in the picture. There you go. Alright, you can see it. On the top, there is a red wire that goes across, one here. I solder it to the top, the positive side, and then this one goes on the other way. On the bottom, I soldered a ground wire. That ground wire I'm going to solder to the top of that screw right there, after I get it all put in there. The Athearn motor, right here, uses a strip on the bottom side that has two little prongs that stick out, and they touch this strip on the inside right there. It's a horrible ground because if it ever gets corroded or something gets down in there, you lose the ground. And most people that have problems with their engines that are not track related, it's because of that issue right there. It's a horrible way to do it. This way, with the Igarashi motor, this is what it looks like. I'll show you a picture. Got that soldered to the ground wire right there, and then there's a positive. And what I've done is, I didn't have any normal flywheels, so I'm using Atlas flywheels. And I have drilled out my couplers on my, I'm sorry, I just had to cramp my leg. I drilled out my couplers to a little less than 3/32 where they meet the drive shaft on both of these, so the worm gear shaft would fit into them. Because the Athearn worm gear shafts are larger than the Atlas shafts. Atlas shafts are much smaller. But in order for me to use this motor, I had to use a Atlas coupler shaft for the worm gear. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this back in the vise, and I'm going to get back to work here and show you how I do this. Okay, hang on guys. Make sure you have the picture there. That's good. Okay. Here's my motor, guys. I've got some stuff down here. Show you this stuff. This is gutter glue, okay? I use this stuff right here to mount the motor into it. I mount the motor inside on the motor mounts, but I put this on top of the motor mounts to get the motor to set. So I've got all my parts in place. Before I do that, I'm going to install these. These go in their normal place. They don't have to be anything spectacular because all they're going to do is cradle this freaking motor, and that's it. And this was originally a dummy motor, a dummy frame setup, and I powered it. The motor I put in there was a older Athearn motor that, to say the least, it didn't work very good, and I was not very pleased with it at all. So let me take my shaft covers off here, my worm covers. I'll give you a better showing of what these look like and what I've done. There's one. Now, something else you guys might want to know, especially Kevin, you. If you do a GE or a C44-9W, hang on, I got a phone call. Hello. Hey. I had to take a phone call, guys. Sorry about that. Okay. Let me show you this. This, you really can't see, the light's not very good in my room, so I'm trying to show you this though. This is the coupler I'm talking about. I had to drill this out, see it right there? I had to drill this out to fit the Athearn shaft because the Athearn shaft is too big for the Atlas coupler. So I've got my motor mounts in there, and I got my motor all set. Okay? Now, probably the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this ground wire, and I like to have a little extra slack on there so it's not so dadgum tight. And then I like to turn this thing a couple times and make sure that the motor sits in there properly, because you never know. Sometimes you do this and if the motor doesn't sit in there right, it's going to make for a bad day. Okay, so I got my ground right there. Now I'm going to solder it in there. I got it. Yeah, I got it. Good deal. Okay. Got that on, right? Alright, now I can pick this up. I hope I can pick it up. There it goes right there. Pick it up, put it to the side. Got my ground wire. You can see that. There's my ground wire right there. Okay? Now, this is where it gets kind of fun. Because you have to work quickly with this stuff. This stuff is nasty. And it takes about a day for this stuff to dry. But when it dries, it's nice and flexible. Your motor's going to be cradled nicely. It's not going to be all over the place. And it just makes a good setting for this motor. I've tried all kinds of different stuff. That stuff seems to work the best. Now, before you do, well, you can do that. You can go ahead and set it in there. It doesn't matter at this point in time. You just got to make sure your ground wire is out of the way. That's the biggest thing you want to do. And plus it gives you room to work with it too. You're not stuck with, you know, is it going to work? Is it going to set up? It's going to work. It's just you got to let it set a little bit. That's all. You can play with it a little bit while you're doing this. And you got to watch as it likes to turn for some reason. Okay, now these are short dog bones. I want you to see that. These are short dog bones. Okay? Okay. What I'm going to do is, and I hate doing these because they screw all over the place and jiggle and get all out of whack, and they're just a pain in the neck sometimes to install. So I'm going to try and do this with little issues as possible. But it's been my experience that these things right here can be a hassle to install. So what we're going to do is put this in here first, just like that, and then put it in here on the bottom side. There it goes, just like that. Got it. Just like that, it's in. Just like that. That way you can move it a little bit, work it back and forth. It all looks good. Alright, now do that like that. That's good. Put your cover on so it doesn't pop out of there. Just like that, okay? Now you do this side. I guess if you had to make a longer one, you can get some plastruct tubing, and you can do it that way. I've heard guys tell me about doing it that. I've never done it myself, but you know, I'm not even sure where you buy this stuff at. But I've heard about it being bought. Okay, so here we go. Now we're getting this one in here. And you're going to fit in there nice and snug like that. And then this one for the rear. Just like that. And you want to slide your bushing over a little bit, just like so it drops into place. There it goes, just like that. Nothing to it. Easy breezy cheesy. Put your cap on. There you go. That's all there is to it, guys. That's simple. You just make sure you turn it. Make sure everything works right. And everything looks good there. Make sure it's straight. Straighten your motors out. All looks good. Now you solder your wires in. These are your hot wires. You solder them on there. I like to put a little acid on them. Flux, you want to call it. I've heard of guys using flux core, but this seems to work the best for me. So I stick with what works. This is a real simple process. Kevin, I was saying to you beforehand that if you do a C44-9W or any kind of 3-axle engine, or 6-axle engine, make sure you mark the axles, front and rear, because they are different on those engines. So, good information right there. Make sure you mark them. Just put a little F or an R on there, just to make sure you know which ones are which. Because if not, you're going to have a problem on your hands. All right, I have to put something under here. what I was using was I think it was a piece of this to go underneath it, go underneath here to hold it up on both ends, to make sure the motor doesn't sit down too far on one side and not enough on the other, because it'll do that if you don't do it this way. See how that goes, just like that. That way it keeps it good and even on both sides. Something you may want to do or consider. This way it sits good and steady. You pick it up and look at it, make sure it's good and level, and it is. It's all good and level. Oh, yeah, it looks good. That's going to be nice. You turn the axles a little bit, make sure they don't pop out of the hole, because you don't want that to happen while you're running the locomotive down the roadway. Do that, and I got to skin this wire back. I left it a little long because I wanted to make sure I had plenty on there to do the job. And normally, guys, I use a 30 gauge wire, and I'm going to show you a piece. I don't know if you can see it or not. I'll shut up to the camera. Let me back out. You can't even see it. It's really small stuff. But this is 30 gauge wire. Let me get right there. There it is. There you see that? That's 30 gauge. It really doesn't matter what size you use. I found out that it works either way just as good. It's really just a matter of preference. So you want to do that like that. I should have skinned that back before I glued it in, but I didn't. So I'm going to see if I can do this without ripping it out of place. But hey, got it the first time. Good deal. All right, now do that. Give it a couple good twists to make sure it's nice and tighty-whitey. Marley! That's my dog Marley, who loves to bark at wind blowing. Sure some of you have the same problems. She's a great dog, and she loves to bark at the wind blowing. There she is now. She just came in the room. She's my little pit bull, but she's a very aggressive dog, to say it mildly. That's really the best way to do it. To say it mildly, she's extremely aggressive. Okay, so now you got that. I'm going to solder this to this and call it done like Dixie. Alright, now you see how easy it is to install these. There's no modifications you have to make to the frame. You just have to raise the motor up high enough. That is really the only modification you have to do. And this stuff that I use is nasty. And it gets on you. Until it dries, it's really filthy. It's just really gross. Now I can test it real quick to make sure it runs. What I like to do is turn these and make sure they freely turn. Now see how easy that turns? You want to make sure that that's a very key important part. So let me run my slug around this way. Get it over here. And I don't hook anything up to it yet because you know what, the torque factor, you don't want it to freaking twist out a freaking knuckle or something like that while it's torquing, because that's exactly what it'll do. So we'll test it and make sure everything works the way it's supposed to. Put her on the track. And let's see how she does. Oh yeah, she does beautifully. Beautifully, beautifully. Alright, take you over there. Let me show you this real quick. Sorry guys, sorry about the movie there. Alright, there you see it right there. And there you see it going down the track. Nothing to it, right? Easy. Make sure it what do you call it? It gradually goes in the turns. Does what it's supposed to do. I don't torque it up real hard. I just go nice and slow. These Igarashi motors they're good motors, but they're slow. But they're also very torquey. I guarantee it's the only motor you'll ever install that'll pull 40 freaking cars without a problem in the world. What I did with one of my engines, and some of you may think this is crazy, I actually put a stone to one of my engines, a round stone, to roughen up the wheels. And what it did was it causes those wheels to bite a lot harder. But that's it, guys. That's all there is to it. You see how easy it is to get done. There's nothing to it. And if you have any questions at all, just hook me up. Let me know what you need. and I'll do what I can to help you. Whatever you may need, I'll help you out. It's not a problem at all. Got any questions? You're unsure about something? Call me. Just let me know what you want, and I'll hook you up. I'll take care of you. I promise you. I won't leave you in the dark. Go buy these motors. You've seen my other videos about these motors. Well, I just showed you now how to install it. You're going to love it. You're going to love the power of them. They do a great job. I'm going to run it one more time to see how it does. There you go. Watch it now. They're very responsive too. I'm sure if I put Northwest Shoreline trucks and nickel silver wheels on here, this thing would creep at the lowest setting on just your DC pack, not DCC, so where you have modes for stepping it. But that's it, guys. And all the credit really goes to Paul Coates. Paul Coates is the one that told me about these. And so, if you want to thank somebody, thank Paul Coates, because he's the one that deserves all the credit. Now that's on 50% throttle right there. Like I said, they're not a fast motor, but they're a powerful motor. So that's it, guys. And I'll give you one more last shot of it. There it is. Have a great day.